like to call the December 4th, 2018 bid board meeting to order. We have a quorum. Would like to have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 6th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 1, financial report. Adam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Under your revised budget, you still have $96,248.40. As of November 27th, 2018, an actual of $69,243.23. Total encumbrances to date are $6,420.91, and you have available $20,584.26.
A motion to approve?
Second.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, parking sign, discussion and decision with Doug. Good morning.
Good morning. I was approached by, I guess, Adam and Jay to kind of put together a suggestion list and locations of additional parking signs in the downtown area for customer parking, public parking. You all should have received a map and kind of a spreadsheet with the locations that we're suggesting, with the requirements that would have to be placed in those particular areas. And the cost is just for the material or the products itself. There's no labor charge for this. I've discussed this with Jay and Adam, and as the city's contribution to this parking issue, we would take care of the installation of these and assume the maintenance responsibilities moving forward if this is something you choose to do. And this map and these locations are just suggestions. They can be changed, they can be cut, they can be added. I guess it's up for discussion to help resolve the parking in the downtown area and surrounding it. So I'd be happy to ask any questions if you have any.
The only question that I have is there was discussion of doing wayfinding signs, which we did. There's some of them out there a number of years ago. Is there any way we can get the sign to look similar to what we've already started so we can carry that theme, or does it have to be this green and white generic looking sign that doesn't fit everything else that we're kind of trying to do down there?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question because there's been conversation about the blue parking signs. I had our sign specialist, I'll call him.
Well, I know they're supposed to be green and white by state
Yeah.
code.
Yeah, by our MUTCD standards, it requires the green parking sign like it has here. The other,
Do they require it or
signs-
suggest it?
what, I'm sorry?
Do they require it or suggest it?
It's required by the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
Except none of these streets are state highways, so we can deviate from that if we want to.
Well, it's also covered in the WMUTCD, which is the Wisconsin manual. So it doesn't matter if it's.
It's still a city street.
Anyway, I had him look into it because, there was talk about the blue signs. People see the blue signs over, and the blue signs are what's required, or not required, but allowed in a private property setting. You'll see them in airports where it's on their property for parking, things like that.
Personally, I think having a sign that's recognizable is more important than something that blends in. I mean, it just kind of shows people where to go, like that big P. That's what people look for, I think.
And the sign would vary depending on where it is, the arrows, the way they point, and things like that.
I'm not opposed to visible, I'm just trying to, do we want to have continue the historic look? And there's discussion of making downtown the historic designation.
Normally, I'd agree with that, but it's hard sometimes to even read the signs that we have.
I know they're too small.
They are.
And that's because we got talked into making smaller ones because of some code that said we're supposed to make them small. And then nobody can read them, so
Yeah.
that's fine. I would prefer not to have green and white in the downtown area. That's just my 2 cents worth.
So Doug, I don't know if it was answered specifically.
Okay?
Can it be blue?
According to our administrator, that's a possibility. But if I follow the traffic manual, this is what's required. We can,
Let's let your administrator talk. I like him better.
We like Doug better. I would just say that some communities do blue. And Doug is following the letter of the law in the proposal, and that's the appropriate thing to do regarding the green, following the MUTCDCDFG. But some communities have gone with the blue just because and that was me lobbying Doug for blue, and he said I can't present blue because that's not proper according to code, and I get that, but it's something that I think is worthy of conversation. I don't know how we would make that sign look historic or small, Doug. I'm not sure if, we haven't had that conversation. If that's the request, we can attempt it, but this is the norm as far as parking signs. I think that a conversation to change it to blue is something that Doug would reluctantly
Agree to?
follow the directive of the bid.
And I would just say that in the spirit of the law and rules, I definitely think blue and the signs are a great idea, so.
Doug, I guess I appreciate the opportunity as well to follow the rules and the law. I'd hate for us to do something outside of the boundaries and then be called on it and then have to reinvest all of our money into something that applies to a restriction. I don't know how it's enforced or whatever, so if worse comes to worse, I would say just do with the easiest thing that makes sense and looks good.
well, I don't believe there's a traffic manual police out there that's going to come and fine us or ask us to remove them, if that's what you're asking. When it comes to parking signs versus speed limit signs, stop signs, things like that, I don't think it's as big a deal.
Okay. I didn't know if there was an authority out there like hunting down
Well,
wrong
I shouldn't
colored
say
signs.
I shouldn't say parking signs, but the parking,
Indicator.
locator.
Yeah, I understand. It's not a major indicator for an emergency situation or anything like that, or a state law. So okay, I agree. I get you.
Doug, did you research the pricing or did someone else?
Our traffic specialist did.
Do they, do you know if blue is a custom color?
I don't think it's going to change the pricing of it. If it does, it's not going to be very much.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to take action today, that's fine. I can come back with those details. It all depends on what you want to do today. A lot of these locations are utilizing existing poles or light poles or traffic signals. There's only a few that have to have poles installed. So depending on the time of year, if we can do that or not, and the frost in the ground. because it does take a little time to get them to get the signs.
I think it's an investment we need to make.
I'd be in favor of making them blue, just to follow the rest of it, and kind of carry the theme.
I'm not opposed to that either. And the locations, to me, Doug, I think are a good start. We may decide that with some community input over time, that maybe we haven't picked the best spots for those signs, but I think that's a really good start, and something is definitely going to be an added benefit to the downtown area to help indicate the parking area. So I think we're on a good track here.
So maybe just to clarify some of the language on the map, where it says double parking signs with arrows, those are basically a sign on a pole that's facing two directions. So you see it coming from both directions. And then the singles are just one.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to accept the locations and the purchase of blue parking signs to be installed in the downtown area.
Second.
There's 3 of them.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mike, I would like to just make sure that that's amended to, or just so we understand that the motion is for the stated amount on the spreadsheet for that value and for that amount of signs.
Well, why don't we, so we don't have to bring this back again?
Leave a little room for blue.
Give them a little cushion so that if there is a little bit of an uptick on blue, he's covered.
Okay, let's,
Not
like
to exceed 1,500.
I was going to say, I think 1,500 would be the, a little bit of a leeway. Doug, do you think that's fair if there is an additional?
Yeah, I don't see it. It should not exceed 1,500.
Okay. So the motion to approve the purchase of the parking signs, the blue parking signs for the downtown area, not to exceed $1,500.
So who seconded that? Do you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a curiosity, what bucket is that coming from? Dollars.
What's that?
What allocation of dollars?
Well, if we can get it out of this year's budget, it would probably be good. If there's any,
That's what I was asking.
you could take it out of the future fund budget, 'cause that's $2,600, round numbers. So if we have any left over, we could take, but I think it would be good if we could get out of this year's budget. If
Looks
possible.
as though you guys might be advertising and marketing parking as well. And you've got some funds in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's money that it can come out of this year's budget, so if we can take it out of that, that would be good. Doug, you might as well stay up here. We're gonna talk about tight ropes. Wires across the street. So, I'm guessing you came up with some other thoughts on the wire?
Well, we've done some research. Adam's got some information, and Jay might even have something to say on it also. Checking with our city attorney and I guess some locations. I don't know if Adam, you wanted to add anything to that, or?
On the map, you'll see highlighted in red all of the buildings that have the wires on them. We spoke with our HR director spoke with our insurance and said that anything that the city would have done installing those wires, that if there is something that would need a claim, the city would be liable if it was the cause of our own doing, not if a building owner had done something to them or anything like that.
So we are covered with insurance?
Yes, and at the same time, we're also reworking the language on the agreements so that it's a little stronger.
More clarified,
Yes.
which really only affects the building owners, not the bid.
Right. Well, it would if the building owner said, now I don't want to sign this.
Well,
Then we'd
that's
have to
true.
find a different location.
Let's
but-
keep faith. It's pretty
Okay.
straightforward.
Adam, was there any discussion regarding, obviously insurance is a interesting character to begin with, so acts of God, nature, weather-related items that are not the fault of anybody necessarily, is there anything that alleviates responsibility or puts responsibility somewhere?
We didn't necessarily talk about that specifically, but considering that's a common insurance point or aspect of insurance, that I would imagine that it's covered, and I can double check on that.
And Doug, we talked about the integrity of the connections and the ropes themselves or the wires themselves. Is this something that we're going to have regular inspection on? Have you been conducting the inspections in the past? And are you technically, by the insurance standards, qualified to do that? Are we going to have to look into some additional options going forward otherwise?
We may have to look into further inspections moving forward. When we put up the decorations each year, we do an inspection on it, but there's so many unknowns when you're dealing with old brick and the conditions of the buildings that you could expect that today, being in that line of work, you can expect today and next week something could happen that is unknown internally a building. But my understanding with the insurance is that if they fall, injure somebody, something like that happens, and city's insurance does cover it. If that's correct, Adam. There was some discussion on the damages to the building itself that they take basically on a case-by-case basis, depending on the circumstance. If the city's doing something, obviously, that's causing this, then it's a little different situation, too.
So that was addressing how it affects to the building. What about the integrity of the cable? You guys can look at that and determine if there's wear or fraying or...
Yes, personally, the cables is the least of the worries. It's the fixing to the buildings is my concern. And the building's condition to hold that much. There's a lot of weight on there. A lot of weight with them decorations, and then when you get snow and ice on there and you get it blowing, it just multiplies the pull on the building, so.
Are there any particular locations you're like super concerned about now?
The two locations that concern me the most are the two in the center, which would go on the Centrum building, and then the other new restaurant there by Hickory Street. Because they are attached to the face of the building. The other locations are more on the side of the buildings.
Any discussion with those building owners yet?
No. So I guess moving forward, we're going to try to do our inspections. Maybe look at other options for inspections, and I guess go from there and make sure our insurance company is comfortable with the city's liability with these cables.
Well, if everybody who's a building owner signs off, then there's nothing more to discuss. If they don't, then you'll bring it back and tell us what their concerns are?
Yeah, as like Adam said, I think we need to clean up some paperwork, and we'll know more information after that,
I remember Ian said he'd keep it under 5 pages from one paragraph.
I wish you luck with that.
I said the same.
All right. Nothing else. Next item is next year's meeting dates. The April meeting's location needs to be changed to the firehouse, or Fire Station 1, because of the election. The November meeting will change back to the council chambers. Is that correct?
The November meeting will change back to the council chambers
And
unless...
then- The September meeting, there's a request to push that off 1 week because of Labor Day being the 2nd. Any other? That's all of them, right?
That is, I'm adjusting the April meeting also from Fire Station 1, if everybody would agree with that, and then looking for a new location. I've got a call into the History Center. Maybe we could do it in the old courthouse or something. I'm looking for kind of a unique location somewhere downtown.
Oh, instead of having it at the fire department? Okay.
That's a lot of changes from this. Are you going to just send us that update, or? I don't want to write all that down.
Yeah, so if you guys would approve, the motion would be an April location change to be determined, September meeting to be pushed back 1 additional week, and the November meeting location change back to the council chambers.
There's only one date change.
And the July, we're good with the 2nd being so close to the 4th?
What day does it fall on? Do we know what day of week?
It's a Tuesday.
Obviously, duh. Thanks.
It doesn't affect me. I don't go anywhere. At least in July.
About the May meeting. That's day after Memorial Day.
It is?
That's up to you guys if you want to move them around.
I'm good with it. I just wanted to throw it out there.
I'm okay with them as well, as they are, except for the one change that's been submitted. I'll make a motion to approve the 2019 bid board meeting dates with the exception of the April meeting location to be determined, the September meeting to be 1 week later, which would then be 9/10. And what was the final change?
The November meeting changed back to the council chambers.
November meeting changed back to the council chambers for the location instead of Fire Station 1.
I should have mentioned too, we could push the April meeting back a week too.
The motion is, as stated, accept the bid board meeting dates. April meeting, location to be determined. September meeting, 1 week later, which puts us at 9/10. And then the November meeting, change location to the council chambers.
Adam, you just stated to move the April date back, or are you keeping it at April 2nd?
Keeping it at April 2nd is the motion, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, did we change the May meeting?
No.
Nope.
It's after Memorial Day. It's right after a lot of businesses are busy in that morning, and then some people are gone on vacation and don't get back right away.
Memorial Day should be May 27th.
Right, it's the end of the month.
Yeah.
Is there any reason we can't change it to the 17th?
But
Or
why?
the,
It doesn't affect
21st?
Memorial Day,
Doesn't
Herb.
affect Memorial Day. Memorial Day is the 27th of May, not the 7th.
Well, 27th is red circled here.
Yeah, that's Memorial Day.
Yeah, well,
And the meeting is on the 7th of May.
I'm at the June meeting. Oh, that'd be all right. Okay, I'm wrong. Okay.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the 2019 Downtown Marketing Plan. What's that? Oh, did I miss something? I gotta scroll back up. Oh, Commons update, sorry. I was just trying to get you guys up there sooner. Oh, might start now.
I can be quick, just because we're still working on this, but I have, just to give you kind of an overview of what was happening, and then as we're piecing together the final recommendation and what we can do going forward. Real quickly, they had the 3 ideation sessions, the public spaces, the storefronts, and the events. And then they had the final presentations, with this being your winner. It's Blank in Residence. I can run through a couple quick ones, but before I do that, I also want to point out that yesterday, myself and a member of Community TV went to Moraine Park Technical College, and they'd been working on a project for the bid for all semester as their semester project. It was, it ended up evolving into a branding kind of placemaking project. It's their social media and marketing class. And then they came up with a bunch of recommendations, and they're going to get the slide to me that they presented, and I'll be able to show that to you guys in January, hopefully. And I think it kind of, it goes along with what we have here as well. So there's now a blend of the two of them that could go a long way. So a lot of people spent a lot of focus over the last maybe 6 months or so on the downtown bid. And that's still on my part needs to be packaged up nicely and presented to you. But right now we have digitally copies of what everybody had been putting together. This would be your public spaces, just the ideation session of here's what they could look like, here are some thoughts. And in the future going forward, when we put this in a book, it's going to explain this in a way that says it's got the event places, it's very family focused, that sort of thing. A lot of public spaces revolved around the river. When we would work on these, the river walk, that became, as soon as they heard about that and saw the machinery out there and what was going on, the groups ended up latching onto that pretty quickly. It may have had something to do with the fact we were in a museum, but art became a common discussion too. So then you have, actually this ended up in, this was an events one, but it's supposed to be a public spaces one. So then Victory Gardens was another one where this was not the winning products here. We can take them and we'll have 3 winners, 3 non-winners, we'll call them. And then the 3 winners ended up winning a gift certificate to Amazon, a small one, for each ideation session. Victory Gardens was one of the non-winners, and then we move on to the winners who, like this one, so then we have the H2O art. So a family ends up becoming a theme. We'll pull together those words that were often used, family, art, and then some ideas that they had going forward. Like the H2O art was a big one, saying, hey, maybe we can get some people out in the rain instead of everybody holding up when the weather gets bad. The digital experience, they had seen some digital art walks that they wanted us to explore and said, hey, this might work on the backs of your buildings. And the fun functional landmark down by the Riverwalk, they had said, why don't you guys put up a basketball court and an amphitheater? The basketball court then all of a sudden doubles as a place to watch performances that are going on at the amphitheater. And then mural came up every once in a while as well. And then this is why we need to adjust. So we ended up talking about storefronts, and food often becomes a common theme. This one they called the Foodie Incubator, but it was a shared space. I want to take that with the in-residence winning proposal and figure out the shared space idea. In residence, actually, if we jump ahead to the winner, was almost a shared space idea that creates a mentor-mentee type relationship with business owners downtown. So if we can have a storefront downtown that, we'll call it like an incubator, but they have a specific passion in a certain business, like financial or a dentist, or, it can go down the line here, a chef. They would also then be a part of a system where they could go out and do work for you in your space, and you could almost have an employee while you're being able to be a mentor for them, and they can get their start in our downtown in the hopes of, like any incubator, that they would then continue to stay in our downtown and grow there. And now we have a new business in the area. So, there's a lot to still piece together. I should have it all done by now, and I don't. But I'll have it going forward, and hopefully I'll have something nice packaged up soon. This is my favorite, by the way.
Adam, could you just reiterate, what was it that you and somebody from Community TV went out to Moraine Park for? That was the first I heard about that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I actually never told you guys about that. It's supposed to be a Christmas surprise. Before the, fall semester started, over the summer, I met with one of the teachers and said, hey, what if your class did a project for our downtown? It's not costing the bid anything. We didn't put any money into this. But they treated it as if we were the client, and because we are trying to grow our social media presence through the city, I wrangled Patty, Chris, and our part-time social media specialist then in on a meeting and said, why don't we meet with them, see if we can put together a project. And they said, all right, we will. What are your concerns with downtown? We talked about identity, we talked about branding, placemaking, all of those things. And they took our feedback, they came up with what our strengths were, what our weaknesses were, and then they put together a nice proposal as if they were, they called themselves the To The Point Marketing and Advertising Agency. So then it's hard to get into it without having any slides or anything like that, but they gave us a nice presentation, and then also gave us some ideas for where you could find some grants out there through maybe Travel Wisconsin and things like that to start plugging some money away at possibly placemaking and things, those buzzwords that everybody's using nowadays. Like that. They also came up with a slogan for you guys, Thrive, if you like it or not.
Is that something we're going to see more on in case there's some action for us to take, or there's good ideas there, or is that?
Yes, I think there is a lot of good ideas, and I just need to get the thumb drive electronic copy of it. Unfortunately, I didn't have it for today because we just met with him yesterday.
It might be kind of a cool idea to invite them down to a meeting to actually present some of those ideas as well. Might be interesting to hear it come from the horse's mouth.
Yes, I am terrible at explaining too, so I'd love to hear them.
So can we
I'd like
assume-
them to do it, yeah.
So we can assume in January we'll have the commons and that all together in a nice little package so we can start moving forward with that?
Yes, and also there was some talk about wayfinding today too, and wayfinding comes up a lot during the Commons project, so I'll have to grab some of the prior work that's been done on that, and if you think it's a good idea, plug that in as well.
Hey, was there anything from the Commons about downtown vacancy? That was kind of one of the original drivers of this. I just wondered if they
It really
came
wasn't
up.
talked
It
about.
wasn't?
It really didn't come up.
Okay.
That was a disappointing part on my part.
Yeah, that was the storefronts ideation and then the final presentation. This group right here, their final presentation was Riverfest. It ended up being more of an event-based type of final presentation. Forever Families was more of a family-focused, here's how we can get people to want to reside in West Bend and bring their families, the ones that are already in West Bend, drive them towards our downtown. In Residence was more of the storefront type of idea, but at the same time, it didn't drive people to all of a sudden want to rent anything except maybe a long-term play. And West Bend Workers, this is just a business-friendly, keep your business. If you're going to invest your business somewhere, it would be downtown West Bend because of the way you're being a part of this place, ecosystem sort of thing.
Are you all set? Okay, now it's your turn.
So we are here to present 2019 marketing plan for the downtown.
First of all, we just have a few facts.
Where did it go?
It's coming up. Anyways, we're not going to read through these. It's just kind of some information that mixed-use buildings downtown create more tax revenue for a city than the big box retails, and more of the money stays within our community. And the experience that people have is what drives them to keep coming back downtown. Anyone can buy anything at any time of the day or night on the internet nowadays, and really the personal experiences that they're having are what keeps them coming back and establishes the relationships with a business owner. So when someone is ready for a big purchase of an engagement ring or needs funeral flowers, they have established relationships through the events that the Downtown West Bend Association has done and the Diva Group's done that keeps them coming back. We wanted to just kind of give you an overview of what we've done for the last 4 years. In 2016, it started with commercials, or actually morning blend segments that highlighted our downtown and some of the Diva events that we did. And then in 2017, we went into commercials that just highlighted West Bend. They were on every week, and that was at the same time that the John McGivern Show was on, so we kind of wanted to piggyback against that and keep people aware of what West Bend has to offer. And there's a lot going on here, and we're proud of our community and want to keep people knowing about us and coming here. In 2018, we brought it more local. There's a lot of people within the community that don't come to the downtown, and so we did our campaign just within the local West Bend area. 2019, we want to keep that going as well as move out further into Washington County, Ozaukee County, spreading that out. And then the plan for 2020 would be to do TV commercials again, going along with the Discover Wisconsin show that will be airing. So that's kind of the overview and our thought process behind what we've done.
So for next year, we want to continue the walking map. It was a great piece for the downtown. Everybody enjoyed it. Diva Group sponsorship, downtown events and promotions, continue the bids, ads in the plays and programs, and we'll go more into that. Park and Recs, the Washington County Fair, spreading out into the county more. Boosting on Facebook, continue the signage at the Kettle Moraine Ice Center, and then at magazines, and we're going to go more into that. The plays and programs, these are 2 ads that we ran this year. The Kettle Moraine Symphony, Shar Art Center, the Slinger High School, and then continue the ads in the Park and Recs. The Washington County Fair is the single largest event in the county, and we want to invest $500 in putting a banner on the fair entrance so everybody comes in when they come into the fair, and you also get your logo on their website and social media shout outs. boosting on Facebook. We want to target communities outside of West Bend, about 30 minutes. And we would boost ads that were created in the Park and Recs, also in growing your business downtown. And currently, we have a sign up at the Kilmarine Ice Center, and they get 90 to 110,000 people in the 8-month season, and we want to keep displaying that sign up there for 800.
Listening to the concerns of the board over the last few years, it sounds like one of the main goals is to continually find new businesses, which is what everybody needs, no vacant businesses downtown. So we worked with Conley to put an ad together that we could place in various places throughout the county. One more slide. 2 more slides. 3 more.
One more, right there.
Okay, so to attract people to grow their businesses down here, and working with Adam, having a packet ready for when people call that have the local places within our downtown that are available to rent or purchase. Also, information on our downtown, the marketing that we've done to help bring people down here, and all the benefits of our downtown and why people should come. So this would be something that we would place in one of these periodicals, as well as do boosts on Facebook with this ad to surrounding communities.
And then last slide. This is just a recap of everything we've talked about. And we want to, 69% of the funding would go to marketing the entire downtown and the businesses down there. A potential reach of 570,000 people, and that's 22 cents per visitor if we go ahead with this investment. Any questions, comments, discussion?
I guess we would like some discussion on the new business generation proposal, and if you have any comments or have used any of these magazines, periodicals, which you would prefer. Or do you not want it at all?
No, I like the Milwaukee Biz Times. I get both their emails and their publication. I think it's a great, useful information. I think there's a lot of good advertising in there. I think that would be a great outlet. I'm very much in favor of all of this. I think you ladies do a good job. I don't think that you need to come back. I feel like you're here every single month kind of begging for money. I think it's silly. I think that we've invested in, beautifying the downtown with the flowers and the landscaping, and what you continue to ask for isn't unreasonable, and I don't think you should have to come back month after month. I would like to see a little more information, and I know it's difficult because you're limited staff. I know you're at the farmer's market every week. I'd like if we could figure out somehow to get more surveys out there, if we could get people to fill something out maybe more online as to where they're coming from, why are they coming to this, what ideas do they have as far as, extra events, because I think that's where we're going to get our information and new ideas from. Because sometimes I think we do the same old thing, week after week and year after year, and before we know it, it just sort of runs itself out. So I think we always have to be, on schedule with trying to keep things fresh, and we may get that from outsiders. So I'm just looking if there's a way that we could somehow gather more information from the people who are coming to these events. That's all I ask.
And I'll agree with that. I also think that the magazine stuff is great. I would like to see more advertising in magazines or television, wherever, and eliminate the walking map. I think, I don't know, personally, last year you did 3,000, now we're going down to 2,000. I think that we could do more just to advertise, or even put some of that money into Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, that kind of stuff, or social media, as opposed to a paper copy of something that they're already downtown and they're going to walk around. So they really, truly, I don't know. I was never in favor of the map to begin with. I think we ought to move to an app
That's what I was going to say, is create an app instead of a map.
Create an app instead of a paper product. Everything else on here, I think, makes sense. The one thing with Kettle Moraine Ice Center is, I know there's a lot of outside people that come to that event or to that area. I'm not sure where that sign's located, but if you can get it on the ice, I think it'd be more impactful than if it's just in an entryway or people walking in because they're sitting, watching their kids play hockey. And I know there's a lot of people that come from out of the community and they're sitting there bored to death watching their kids lose a game. It's like, oh, let's just go, there's a sign and maybe let's go downtown and see what's going on. So I would look at possibly some of that sign placement and figure out if it makes sense to maybe pay a little more to get better placement of the signage to, and use some of that money from the map and eliminate the map altogether.
The sign at the Kettle Moraine Ice Center is against the wall, so the audience faces the sign when they watch the games.
Yeah, great.
And one piece on the walking map, I give them out to every person that comes from out of town, and they are always so thankful because we don't have any one piece that markets our downtown. There's nothing you can give them. And prior to this map, I had to grab probably 5 different pieces of information to give to people about where the restaurants are. Look in this magazine, look in this piece, look in this piece. So, we need some type of information to hand a person of where are all the restaurants, what are all the shops. And I don't know if it's not a map, but something, because otherwise you have nothing.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting an app, because most people have, and you can do apps really inexpensively now.
I don't know, I guess it's something we really need to look into a little more, because so many people don't want to download an app if they're in town for a day. They're not going to do it, and if they're just there for the day, you need something quick and easy to give them. And, well, here, go to this area, download this app, and then you can get our listing.
I agree with you. There's a lot of us dinosaurs that don't use our phones for everything.
But what's our market?
I'm not going to say I'm a dinosaur, but I'll tell you, I still grab a paper map. I go to Wilderness and I grab
I don't
a
want to
paper
cut down a
map.
tree.
So I definitely am in favor of the map, and I see them going out. You guys stock them, or the Downtown Association did a great job of keeping the inventory stocked. And I think it works great to cross-promote businesses within our community when, yes, they are here, but it definitely does a great job of.
So now the converse of that is if someone's coming to town and they have an app, they can go and pre-plan their shopping experience and their eating experience before they get there.
I'm not against an app. I just think we need both.
I agree.
Maybe there's room for both.
Maybe there is. So maybe we should take some of this money and explore doing an app with it instead of putting it into some of those other areas. I just think that they can do a lot of pre-planning and stuff before you get there.
Maybe Adam's group can do the app. Get that
An app's only
To
going
the
to work if you have
students.
events and
Yeah.
coupons on it.
How about the students? Get the students involved with it, the app. Adam?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Adam?
An app's really only going to work if you have events and coupons on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I would be more inclined to go to downtownwestbend.com and use that as a tool to navigate, before I go to the App Store and download an app and that continuously have to update that app, and it becomes pretty
That's why it's so much easier to grab a map.
cumbersome, but worth exploring.
All right, I think a few questions first, and then a few comments as well. So, the first question, and this goes back to the history of things. What was your experience on the morning blend? That was a pretty expensive thing back in 2016. Do you recall? Was that a value, or was that something that you would never really consider doing again in the big picture of things?
I feel it was a value. There was nothing out on West Bend in the area at all, and I had comments from some of the people in Washington County that they were glad that West Bend is finally starting to do some of their own advertising and getting their name out there for what was going on. And I think just by the stuff that we started, I've seen MOA continue when they have their big events going on. And especially if there's a call to action that something's happening, it's much more effective than just a general segment.
Right. And I do catch that segment every now and again, and I know there's a really strong following for that program as well in the morning. So I guess I'm just trying to put the picture together in my head of the value of something like that as opposed to like the Discover Wisconsin program that's coming down the pipeline here in a few years, and just looking to get some of your feedback as to, you know, things that you've done in the past and things that we might consider in the future. That $5,000, in your estimation, do you think you get more value or a better experience from something like the Morning Blend, or are you really excited about the Discover Wisconsin thing coming down the pipeline?
I kind of think they piggyback each other. Discover Wisconsin is going to live much longer than the Morning Blend.
That would be my gut feeling as well, that the Discover Wisconsin program is going to, the value, and it's about the same amount, right? Is it about $5,000 for the?
Well, it's 40, but you guys are putting
only
in
paying-
5.
Right, but there's a portion of it that we're on the hook for, right? And
Right.
so okay. Can you talk at all about Small Business Saturday this past year?
Small Business Saturday has grown every year. It's, I think, 5 years now running. It's a day that is record-breaking for every store in town. And we had a line for 4 or 5 hours straight. So I think, I don't know about the restaurants and how they do, but I know all the small shops are extremely busy, and yeah. it's hard to
I
handle.
think it's interesting because there's not a line item for an expense for advertising for Small Business Saturday, and it's your busiest day of the year.
You don't need to advertise. American Express has done enough for it, so we don't need to put more dollars into that area. We really need to put them into other areas to continue to get those to become a Small Business Saturday.
Yeah, no, I just think it's remarkable, and I just wanted to make that point. I really like the idea of the new business proposal advertisement. I think that's really part of the bid's entire job, is to make sure that we're filling spaces and getting quality competition, or whatever you want to call it, in the downtown area. So I think money spent there on our behalf is really important. It appears to me like the Milwaukee Magazine might be the best value, just looking at the numbers for readership and expense. However, I am also familiar with the Milwaukee Biz Times. I don't read the Milwaukee Business Journal at all, I guess, but those two would be my top suggestions for where to possibly put that advertising. The bid walking map, I'm all on favor of doing an app-based thing, but I also think that a physical brochure is really nice. It makes me wonder, if we're trying to keep costs down, if we couldn't partner with somebody else to include additional items in the walking map. I mean, potentially the Friends of Sculpture or something would be interested in partnering to place locations of their sculptures that are somewhat in the downtown area.
We do mention those in the map as things to do.
Okay.
The sculptures are within walking distance of the downtown.
Yep. But if we're trying to find partners or whatever, maybe we could.
Maybe they would
say-
sponsor sponsorship
Absolutely,
money to
yeah.
pay for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, just different organizations or different things that are included, might be interested in talking to them about being featured a little bit better, or sponsoring the map, and then kicking in some of the funds to help offset that. Kettle Moraine Ice Center, I think, is a great idea as well. I know, Mike, you said that a lot of out-of-town visitors come, but I also know that a lot of those people are there almost like 4 times a week. They're with local people whose either kids play or they play. Same fans watch the Bombers every week. So it is important, I think, to keep it in front of their faces, even more so the local people as well as, and including the outside people. So, I think that's all really good stuff. So thank you for the presentation today.
So just real quick, spinning off of what he's saying, would it be at all advantageous to maybe, again, I look at a couple things, but the music program and the park and rec program, and taking that money and putting it into Morning Blend? And if you had comments of people saying, hey, it's nice that you're advertising, so maybe we should keep that kind of alive. I mean, it's something you can think about, but I think it would make sense to potentially, if you had good positive feedback from the Morning Blend and now it's ended, maybe we bring that back. If, Mo is doing it. I have a ton of success with television, obviously. It's a very, very powerful media, and there is a huge following from that Morning Blend. So maybe it makes sense to take that $2,000 and put that into Morning Blend segments, and keep that moving forward. That's bringing some of the outside people into the community. It will also, I think, piggyback ahead of time onto the Discover Wisconsin, where people go, oh, I've been seeing this time and time again. Now I see this Discover Wisconsin show. Yeah, we definitely need to go there.
Yeah, we talked about starting some TV stuff at the end of 2018 and then pulled it out, but we could add another $1,000 or two.
Well, I'm saying take that 2,000 and put it in. Move it. I'm not saying add, I'm saying move.
Mike, that sounds like a pretty good idea, and I would actually, I think reallocating a couple $2,000 within that budget somehow and get some exposure to the Morning Blend might not be a terrible idea. The only other thing that I want to add, I guess, is I think it's one thing to keep in mind is moving into 2019, I think our operating budget went up by like 10,000, I think, because of increased property assessments. So from a budget standpoint, I definitely feel comfortable with the 12.9 proposal that you've got. And so, yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to add 2,000? Is that what you were saying for?
No, I was
TV
saying I
advertising?
think that they could rework a few things in that proposal somewhere to find some room for TV. Are we allowed to make a decision on this? Or a motion?
Yeah, it's a motion and discussion.
Oh, great.
Discussion and decision, so.
Well, then I would like to make a motion to approve the spending of up to $12,900 with the amendment that you rework some of that marketing plan stuff to squeeze in $2,000 worth of TV advertising.
On Morning Blend or just TV?
On Morning Blend.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So one clarification, you want segments on the Morning Blend, not commercials during the
Right.
Morning Blend? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
And Jeannie, the segments that you do are pretty much like event-driven, correct? Like when you go on the Morning Blend, it's because you're announcing something's going to be happening.
When we did it the first year, one was on the dining downtown, one was on the shopping downtown, one was on the museums downtown. So
Okay.
these will probably tie into, like right before Farmers Market, Music on Main, Toad, all that stuff gets started, so we have something to tell them to come to.
Okay, thanks.
Versus just a generic segment.
I don't think there's anything wrong with doing generic either, but just something to get people coming.
Yeah, I mean, with $2,000, we'll be able to do 3.
And the other thing that I'd like to throw out there for the bid is to maybe send out a letter to the membership and saying, here's an opportunity if you want to tie in to the Morning Blend segment and as your business and go on it. Say that the bid's doing it, here's an opportunity, here's a contact information from the TV station, and try to encourage businesses to be a part of that segment. If you could get, the 5 minutes or whatever it is for the bid, and then we get some other businesses tied in, and all of a sudden you own part of the show for the day of West Bend, it could make a lot of impact.
Do they strategically offer commercials during that time for?
Yes.
I mean, that seems like a natural then.
You pay for everything. The commercials are roughly $25 a segment for a 15-second.
It's a 15-second.
Yeah.
I typically, if I know what's happening, I'll buy some spots.
Yeah, I think
So-
that's a really powerful idea, though, to make sure that we include our membership in that when we are doing this, to let them know that there's these opportunities for additional advertising during this time.
Well, or they could even go on it. I mean, it's more powerful
right.
if you go on it. If
Yeah.
they don't have a spot created for television, it gets kind of costly to go
Yeah,
in and
that's
just buy
true.
1 or 2 commercials. But they could go and do a segment and, possibly do it. And let me know when it is, because now I have somebody that will want to do
on.
it for my business as well. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Tony, you look like you want to say something.
Not at all. I'm
Oh, my
good.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's off. The only thing left is the next agenda. I would like to say if we do a mailing, I know that there was very poor turnout, or it appeared in the very beginning there was a poor turnout of people for doing the decorations. I got my postcard 4 days after the decorations went up.
Me too. Me
So, we need to figure out a way to, and I know it was dated like 10 days in advance, so it wasn't like you did it at the last minute. They didn't get there. So, we need to think about that going forward with the mail. So the only thing I know for the next agenda is Commons and all of what you had kind of talked about. Is there anything else that anybody can think of at this point otherwise?
The lights on the buildings, are they still working on repairing the lights on the buildings?
And what's
or-
done is what they could repair without
Oh, okay,
replacing.
Okay.
Have we made any discussion about when those deer are going to come down and where they're going to go?
Well, the deer will come down with the rest, and you guys pretty much convinced Doug that he was going to create
He's going to
crates.
find room.
That's why I abstained, because I didn't know where he was going to come up with the room either.
I
I think
did.
they're great, but.
I think they're great as well.
I don't disagree, but I don't know that we have a
Okay.
real good plan of where they're being stored, so.
Jay says we're good.
Adam was going to figure it out for us. Okay.
I do want to mention, I think they look wonderful.
I think we could just intersperse them over at the museum all year, over in the new garden. Among the trees, we just put them in there. They're little family of deer. Exactly.
Adam, I just have a question on this Commons thing. We got this group together. They were here for a long time. We did this big deal. And so what are we going to do? Are we going to be presented with like the end results of what the people there that judge this thing came up with? And then are we going to, as a bid, are we, going to form a subcommittee of some sort to do something with it? What's going to happen?
We could do a subcommittee, but really, it's just me taking on a bunch of different projects and piecing it together for you guys, and I've just not devoted enough attention to have it ready for a bid board meeting.
I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to figure out what it is, that's going to happen. We're going to be shown these ideas, and then we can decide if we want to use any of them or what. Okay.
Yep, and I'll have some recommendations too, maybe, and I'm taking some meetings with some people that might tie into some of these things too.
Like what the school came up with?
Yep, or people looking at maybe some shared spaces and things like that downtown.
Okay.
I also have information on wayfinding and did the app research earlier in the year too, if you guys want that on the next agenda or one going forward.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas.